we need to talk about Solana and why the bull market is not priced in. Solana is currently sitting at year-to-date highs and is not far off from all-time highs. In fact, it only needs to rally about 22% to get back up to its prior all-time high and then break above that. And in a full-on bull market, that is not incredibly far to travel. And more importantly, we see that Solana has broken out of a very long range here. This is a range that we were in really for, if we just go ahead and look at it, 230 days round about before we broke out of it. That's quite a long period of consolidation. That means that a lot of Solana changed hands during this range. A lot of the people who thought that this was as high as it was going to get, that was a good place to sell, sold. And the people who bought are probably waiting for a lot higher prices. That's why when you see these big ranges, then a breakout one way or the other, they can be quite explosive. That's what we're seeing with Bitcoin right now. Long range broke out to the upside. Just show you here, broke out to the upside, quite explosive. And it seems like Bitcoin's just going to continue further up from here. So what I want to talk about is what can we expect from this bull market for Solana. I want to start off by talking about some of our models and what they're seeing, then also some of the narratives that really might push Solana higher. So let's get into that. So the first model I want to talk about is our short-term upside downside potential indicator. This is one of our risk models we have here at the channel. So higher values mean higher risk, lower values mean lower risk. And this cares about moves that play out over days to weeks, so shorter in its time horizon. So you can see that so far, as we've been going into this bull market that Solana's been in, off the bottom caused by the FTX collapse, that was the exchange that blew up and tanked a lot of the crypto market, Solana especially heavily. And what you'll see is that even just in those early phases of the bull market, we've gotten to pretty high risk levels on the short term, up to about 3.5 at the highest here at this local top before this big consolidation. And if this really is a full-on bull market, which it seems like it will be, Bitcoin breaking out clearly to new all-time highs, when that happens, altcoins tend to rally afterwards to new all-time highs also, especially assets like Solana that actually have caught a lot of mind share in the space. And so if that happens, you'd expect the entirety of this model to be in play. So whether or not we go up to 5 immediately on a run, or we have some moves up and then some consolidation, then another move up to get us there, one way or the other, I would expect the entirety of this upside here to be in play. And the good news is that we're nowhere near the top. We're nowhere near the highest edges of the risk model. In fact, we're not even at the place that we were at this local top. So that's where I think in the short to medium term, Solana has plenty of room to work with to the upside. And with this breakout, I think it really is just a matter of time before it consolidates this and then turns it into further gains to the upside. And from a risk perspective, that's very much in line with what we'd expect to see, getting back up to these levels like we have in prior bullish phases. Now, the other thing we can look at that also points to a pretty explosive move potentially be loading for Solana is its trend confidence indicator, or TCI. So as the name suggests, this model cares all about trend. And really the way you look at this is, how is the TCI moving in relation to price? If you see, for example, the TCI move up aggressively, then price will often follow. Then if the TCI moves down aggressively, price will often follow to the downside. It's basically telling you how much should you believe in a current trend, or how healthy is that trend. If you see the TCI start moving up aggressively while price is still moving down, suggests that downtrend is not very healthy anymore, and in fact is likely to, if anything, to just reverse to the upside. And then if you're off to the upside and you see it moving down, means that you're probably getting to a weaker point of the uptrend, or a point where reversal is likely. It doesn't always lead to immediate reversal, but it will tell you when that uptrend, for example, here is weakening and then might lead to some more consolidation, where the main meat of the move is probably in, and you're likely then to have to spend some time chopping around before being able to continue to the upside. So if you look at what's been happening recently, when we're in this range, the TCI was kind of non-committal. It was reacting to these short little runs that we had in this range, but nothing too crazy. But then more recently, you see that really kind of start coming out of here, we started a new uptrend on the TCI, sitting in higher highs and higher lows. And that is a good sign, because these longer term divergences that can play out between price going sideways to down here, and then this coming up, that can be a picture or painting the scene, setting the stage for some meaningful upside. Bitcoin actually did this exact same thing during its range. And we see how that's already playing out for it. If we just look at Bitcoin, very explosive out of that range. Its TCI was acting exactly the same as Solana's is acting right now. So I think that's another point in Solana's favor. And the last model I want to talk about here is momentum, specifically our momentum bias indicator. So this model looks at what direction is momentum biased in. And by bias, I mean, is it prevailing to the upside or prevailing to the downside? And you'll see very distinctive behaviors on this model at different points in the market cycle. So in bull markets, you'll see the model spend a lot more time up in the green than in the red, just very brief touches into the red before going right back up into the green again. Bear markets are the exact opposite. A lot of red, very brief revisits to green before more and more red. Then importantly, when you're in these transitionary periods out of bear markets into bull markets, you'll see this kind of behavior, this kind of oscillation around zero. And what tends to happen coming out of these phases is explosive moves to the upside. You see it here. We're kind of going in this sideways range. We saw this oscillation around zero and then exploded to the upside, just massive green all the way through here. Positive momentum just absolutely dominating. Any moves to the downside quickly reversing back up. Then we actually went and had a second round of that kind of oscillation, kind of a second mini consolidation period like we had over here, which lasted, as we talked about, quite a while. But it looks like now we're actually ready to do the same thing we did here. In fact, you actually just look at it, coming out of red, coming up, dipping down, bouncing off to zero, going up, very similar to what we just did over here. Now, will it be as rapid and explosive as this? Time will tell. I think it's possible that Solana will have to spend more time shopping around while Bitcoin completes its move. Because generally speaking, when Bitcoin goes on a big parabolic rally, it sucks all the liquidity. All the funds that are going into crypto, or the vast majority of them, get sucked into Bitcoin. It really shoots up. And then profits coming off of Bitcoin after its big move is near its end or has ended, then roll into other assets like altcoins. And I think this time around, an asset like Solana, having established itself as very solidly kind of the number 3 chain that's out there, will, in my opinion, likely benefit very heavily from that. So whether or not this just shoots up to these same really high levels, or we kind of spend some more time generally in the green, but a little bit less explosive before the big explosion, doesn't really matter. I think the destination is the same either way. Now, this is not financial advice, of course. You should make of these data as you will and make your own decisions. When I look at these models, I see a very bullish picture being painted for Solana, a picture of an asset that's already done very well in this market, but probably has at least one more notable leg up before all is said and done. And the other reason why I think it makes sense to be bullish on Solana is that, assuming there's no catastrophe, like some crazy recession or something that derails this crypto bull market, the narratives that surround Solana are very good, in my opinion. So if we just look at the state of DeFi, decentralized finance, and how Solana relates to that, here we are over on DeFi Llama, great site for anything DeFi. What you can see is that Solana is at number 3 in terms of the total value locked on the chain. This is basically the total value of assets that are in the DeFi ecosystem on Solana. And it's just barely below Tron. I would not be surprised to see it flip Tron relatively soon. And then, of course, everything's way below Ethereum still at this point. But what's important about this with Solana is that one of the other big narratives that's going on in the crypto space right now is meme coins. And with Solana, that is really one of the areas that it has solidified its hold over. Solana is way cheaper to use, way faster to use than Ethereum. If you look at last cycle, Ethereum was a place where a lot of the meme coins lived. Not all of them. Some of them lived on other chains like Binance Smart Chain, for example, but a lot of them live on Ethereum. Ethereum was just the place where people would launch tokens. You wanted to launch a new token, the easiest and the most common place to do it for a lot of people was just to do it on Ethereum. But that has changed. Solana has a lot of infrastructure now, like Pump.Fund and some of those other launching pad platforms that make launching new meme coins very easy. And so you've been seeing this explosion of meme coin activity on Solana. Some of them like WIF, some of them like Bonk, getting to very high market caps. Now, in more recent one, Peanut, so on and so forth. You just go down and look at the Solana ecosystem over here on CoinMarketCap. You'll just see meme coin after meme coin after meme coin. And that is really one of the areas that it has solidified its grasp. And so assuming that that continues to be an interest in the crypto space, Solana is in a very nice position just purely from a narrative perspective, that if meme coins continue to capture a lot of mind share, then Solana is going to be very heavily associated with that, going to give a reason for people to be buying Solana. And there's another thing that's actually a little bit more structural about why this could be good for Solana. So one of the things that actually happened with Bitcoin back in the 2016-2017 cycle is that back here, Bitcoin was actually one of the main exchange currencies for crypto. It wasn't necessarily the dollar that everyone was using, like stable coins to trade in and out of different crypto assets. A lot of times it was pairs with Bitcoin. So when the big ICO boom happened through here, initial coin offerings, and everyone wanted to get involved with that. That was like, like what meme coins are now. You buy some ICO token, it goes crazy, and then people, make a lot of money, then they dump it into the next ICO. People wanted to play that game, often needed to have Bitcoin. It was just what you needed to buy into the ICOs. You'd sell out into Bitcoin, so on and so forth. And that's one of the reasons people argue Bitcoin shot up so aggressively in this cycle, because it was kind of that medium of exchange going back and forth between all those different assets. And now Solana sits in a place where it could be that for a lot of meme coins. That Solana is currently sitting at a place where a lot of meme coin activity is happening, tons of total value locked, and a lot of that involves Solana. A lot of times when people launch a new meme coin, it's a pair with Solana, not with something else. So Solana could actually be set up from a structural perspective to benefit from that volume that happens on the chain related to meme coins. So one thing I just wanted to note there from a narrative, but also structural perspective that might benefit Solana. Now, the final thing I did just want to talk about that I think is interesting and just important to keep an eye on, although I don't think it's going to be the most important thing in a full-on raging bull market, is just take a note of one very interesting thing. So here we are at the current coin market cap front page where we can see all the different crypto assets ranked by market cap. And what you'll see is that Solana is over 100 billion, which is quite impressive. And its price is currently below its prior all-time high. Now, if you look at a historical snapshot of what the market looked like last time Solana was at its prior all-time high, so early November 2021, see here just below what its all-time high actually was here, just about 250. Note that the market cap was actually lower than it is right now at 75 billion. Well, wait a minute, how's that possible? How can it have a higher price but a lower market cap than what it has now, where it has a lower price but a higher market cap? Inflation, that's the answer. The supply, the circulating supply of Solana has expanded from last cycle to where we are right now. And so it's just important to keep an eye on that it will take more money, most likely, for Solana to get to and exceed its prior all-time high than last time around. It's now a larger market cap asset. There are more Solana in circulation now than there were before. You therefore need more demand to overwhelm that increase in supply to send prices higher and higher. Now, in a full-on bull market, I don't think that's going to matter all that much. You just look at a lot of other coins going down here that have had massive inflation that they've experienced. HBAR is one, for example, that's had massive inflation over its life. And in a full-on bull market, that doesn't actually end up mattering too much. You can have massive price runs on assets, even though they have had a lot of inflation in the past. But more of this is something to look for is going beyond this cycle, that when we go into that next bear market, we'll have to just keep an eye on the fact that Solana has a lot more inflation than other assets like, for example, especially Bitcoin. And so whether or not it's a great long-term investment to just, hold it forever and never sell it, that's where some of those things might come into play and are important to think about. But for right now, I don't think it's going to hold it back. I just wanted to note that because it is an interesting thing that a lot of people lose sight of that can then be a problem when it rears its head later on in like a bear market and they haven't even been thinking about it up until that point. All right, so to wrap us up, I do think Solana sits in a very nice spot right now. We have a very bullish context where Bitcoin's ripping new all-time highs. That tends to be very good for altcoins, just a little bit removed after Bitcoin ends its run. When we look at our different models, they are not overheated now at all, and they point up as being the likely continuation here. And there's also a lot of nice narratives that go along with Solana, and even some structural things that feed into those narratives that I think it also benefit, as well as it captures a lot of volume of speculation around things like meme coins. So that's why I think Solana is going to do quite well this cycle. I think it will actually probably give Ethereum a run for its money. I'm not going to call for a flippening, like it flipping Ethereum, but I do think it's going to have its time in the sun. I think the speed and the cheapness of Solana and the user friendliness relative to something like Ethereum is going to really benefit it. And it's just all that narrative. All that Solana needs is just these narratives to continue that are very much bullish and capturing more and more mind share, and it will do well. And it might even surprise people at some points of the cycle, in my view. Now, of course, not financial advice. You should make your own opinions, but that's what I'm seeing right now. Short of some catastrophe, I think Solana is set up for a very nice bull market that, in my opinion, is not yet priced in. So if you like the content, remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and follow us over on X. A lot of updates from our models and more over there. And go to our website, claritydigital.io, to see live data from our models and more. We have models for Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a whole plethora of other altcoins. You can check it out there. Link in the description.